Greetings. Today I want to just briefly mention something I've talked a little bit about previously, but I want to go into a little more detail. And it's, to me, one of the most fundamental things that we as therapists, coaches, healers, however you want to look at our professions, and that is creating expectancy for change in our clients. A lot of times we don't, I think, spend enough time seeing how important, how much we need to instill hope in our clients. I recently just had a client who had came in and said he had absolutely no hope. And then when we're about to wrap up the session, he said, "Well, this is great because I feel like I have a little bit of hope." And it just kind of jumped out at me because even though I've talked about this and written about it, I think it's real easy for us to forget that our job a lot of times isn't to solve problems, but sometimes just to give people hope that their problems can be solved or can be changed or their relationship to the problem can be changed. So in order to give people hope, we have to kind of walk a little bit of a tightrope, if you will, between um, guaranteeing that things absolutely will change and being realistic that we don't know how things will change. Even with the best theories and techniques, we don't know how things are going to change. And there's that important component of therapy, which is also the client, that brings his or her own ideas about change and about the future. And a lot of times when we walk into any place and we don't have a sense of hope, it's going to be hard to create new changes in people if we don't at least create an expectancy that there can be change, that there is hope. Now, to me, one of the easiest ways to do this is something that you'll find in the solution-oriented therapy, solution-focused therapies. It's just asking the client, when you no longer need me, what will be different in your life? So when you'll no longer need me as your therapist, what will be different in your life? Now that one question to me not only creates some expectancy that things can change, but it gives that person hope because it takes their attention and moves it out of the problem and places it into their preferred future outcome or a future without that problem. And it also lets them know that you won't always be there as their therapist, that therapy won't be going on forever in a lot of cases. And we say that, I say that as a good way because I think it's important to be a brief therapist, but not so brief that we're literally pushing the client out the door, but have some idea that, yeah, eventually you won't need me because this situation will end. Things will change. So just by asking, when you no longer need me as your therapist, what'll have happened? Or what's different then? So by really paying attention to what the client says and then figuring out in your mutually created treatment plan or therapeutic goals how to get there, it's amazing how much magic can happen and how much hope person just having the hope because they can't envision their life without that particular problem, because if they could, they probably would solve it on their own. So just directing their mind to a place to where they can see life without the problem may be healing in and of itself. And to be quite blunt, may be in some cases, not all, but some cases, the only interventions that people need. Sometimes people just need to tell their stories and to someone to suggest that there might be a time where that story is different. And if it's different, that's okay. And that means things have changed. And that alone can be quite magical, to know that those stories can alter and take in new information and be tweaked a little bit. So overall, expectancy is really important. I remember one of my graduate professors, Dr. Barnes, who said one time he was working with a family who just couldn't seem to get it together, but halfway through the session, he says, when change happens, and he pointed right at him, and change will happen. what will that be like for you? And that change will happen. Now, he didn't say change in the problem. He didn't say change in whatever family dynamics is going on. Because if you wake up tomorrow, there's going to be some change in your life. It might be just a little bit. But his insistence that change will happen not only creates that expectancy, gives them the hope, but also, if you're stating that as a therapist, you are now invested in creating that change. And now it is this co-creative process. So if we create that expectancy that change can happen and provide that hope to people who may not have that sense of hope, I think that in itself could be one of the more practical and magical things that we can give people. So, hope you have a great day, and I hope that you can find hope with your clients.